What is up, savages? It's your boy Twisty, and today I'm going to talk about getting into Conqueror. This is a follow-up video from the past couple of videos I've posted about Arena, specifically the Rush Hour video I did, and also the AO. The AO got a bit off topic towards the end, but today we're going to try and stay on topic and talk about AD. And Arena defense is a little bit interesting because you're basically playing the counter game to all the Arena offenses, and you have to create a win condition, and you have to be able to counter as many offenses as you can to limit the amount of teams that can attack you. If your team, for example, let's just say you run, that's my defense right now, I'll explain that a bit later, but let's just say you run something really simple. You run something like Briand, you run Bella, you run Verd, you run Veramos, and you think, oh, this is great. I say that you run Veramos lead. If they can't kill me, then Briand's gonna revive, and then all this kind of shit. But you open yourself up to Lushens. If you don't have Nemesis runes, you open yourself to Wombo. If you don't have Will runes, and you open yourself up to bombs, especially if your bomb team is speed sync. So this does really nothing for you. So we're gonna try and help people out with their ADs. Now, you personally are going to struggle to be able to counter bombs. And the best way to counter bombs, like really early game, is to just bring Veramos and put teams on wall runes and shield runes, and have the shield runes with high enough HP to be able to withstand bombs. The only issue is that teams are probably going to use a Dispel, so like Chiwu, Tryon, for example, and it's pretty much pointless to try and counter bombs because the only count you have to bombs, to be honest, is to bring enough HP to be able to survive, or you can put wheel runes on and just to like make them bring a Dispel, make it harder for them. But there's not a load you can do if the bomb team is set up correctly. So we're going to talk mostly here about countering the offenses, and the counter to teams that are going to run 1 to 2 nukers and supports is force them to bring revive, like Briand. And the reason why this works is if someone takes units to your offense, this is the defense I use purely to counter this. This is what most teams in Conqueror seem to be running for some reason. None of them seem to be running like major Lucian teams or anything like that. I don't know. I don't understand it at all. But basically, what I do is ensure that if you're taking nukers to my team, then okay. So if you bring water to kill Perna, then you've got Ciara who's going to kill you. So this basically forces the other team to bring fire units against me. Which isn't actually that bad. There's a lot of fire single DPS units, which is fair enough, but Perna can still hit them, of course. And Orion adds the unknown to the fight, where he can defense break like your Belladie on your Veramos, and then 2 nukers are gonna go in and kill that unit. Okay. So, who have we got next? So this is my counter to it. So you force them to bring a revive, and when you force them to bring a revive because they're unsure if their units are going to survive, then it takes out one unit out of the fight unless they have a good reviver like Eladriel, Brian with some CC, or Iona, for example, with more heals. If they don't have a strong reviver, then it's going to make the fight harder for them as well. This team doesn't have healing, which is my only complaint personally. That it just doesn't have heal. But it's the best thing I could run with the units I had. So that's how you counter 1 to 2 nukers and supports. And to be honest, the best way to counter that in general is just to have a kill threat on your defense. Have a defense that can one-shot units on the other team. Because the moment you start taking out supports or taking out nukers, then especially if those nukers are reliant on those supports, then it makes it a lot harder for the enemy team to kill your team. Next of all, you want to counter Lushens. Lushens are huge to counter. Now, sticking, I have to put a asterisk on this, because sticking fire monsters like Perna and Kumar Although I mentioned before, they can solo Lushens if you get lucky enough with violent procs and whatever, and just being tanky enough. They are not a reliable way to counter Lushens. Like, if I was attacking my team, like, I would still Lushen it. As long as I know I can outspeed that, I would still Lushen that. If I know I can't outspeed this, which you never truly know until you try. If I had Vanessa and Bernard, then I obviously try and attack this with and I'd Lushen it. But right, sorry guys, I had to go and sort something out. So one of the issues you have with defense is if you run fire units, then it doesn't save you from Lushens at all. It is nowhere near a guaranteed win against Lushens. I bet that's Tiana. Yeah, it was Tiana. A lot of people are going for Tiana in the summoning stone rotations today. So that's a big thing to be concerned about is Lushens. And to be honest, there's a couple of ways to counter Lushens. And the primary way is to outspeed them. That is the easiest way to counter Lushens, is just to outspeed. Once you outspeed, and if your team is speed tuned so that they cannot get a turn in, and then you can stun them, then stun them or kill one with Theomars, then you pretty much like won the fight most of the time. There is, however, a different way to counter Lushens, and that is to bring a unit with CC, like Veramos or Tyron, and bring a unit with healing, like Beladion is probably the best example for this, Beladion or Praha, and to put them on Nemesis runes. You can do double Nemesis, you can do Nemesis Violent, however you want to do it, and the basic idea is you want to have like 30k at least HP, and people often say this in the Guardian AOs, and they say, oh, you need to have 30k HP with like 200, like 100, plus 100, plus like 90 speed to have your Bella at 190 speed, have your Braha at 200 speed, and have this much defense and all this kind of stuff, and that's great. But the problem is that not everyone has the runes to be able to do this. And personally, if you do not have the proper Nemesis runes to be able to do it, then don't. So, for example, I don't run a single unit on Nemesis, and the reason why is because I have some Nemesis runes, they're just subpar Nemesis runes. This one's okay, but they're really not ideal. So if they're not ideal runes, I don't run it. And if I know personally that I do not have the runes to make a Nemesis AD, put Bella on Nemesis, so I don't. So I keep Bella. I think Bella's on Violent Broken set. Yeah, Violent Energy. That's what I keep Bella on. I don't change anything up, just to meet the quota of having Nemesis. Because I use Bella for other things besides PvP. And Nemesis is obviously ideal, but you can't always have what you want. So if you don't have Nemesis runes to be able to make a team like that, don't. Because if you sacrifice loads of HP and speed on Nemesis runes, just to get Nemesis runes, then when you do proc Nemesis, your team may still die anyway, or you may lose Bella outright in the fight if your Bella does not have above 30k HP. You've got to hit that 30k range, because most Lushens going into Conqueror are probably hitting around 8,000 a card. So I think it hits 3 times, or maybe it hits 4 times, but it's around 30k damage. So if you're not above 30k, then you may get one shot by a single Lushen, and that's quite embarrassing. I think it's 3 times, so 24k, 30k is like safe to use with Lushens, assuming they have towers max. So, but obviously, the end game Lushen's gonna be able to Lushen you, but we're not talking about like guarding. We're talking about how to get into Conqueror. So definitely try and get units on Nemesis if you have the runes. If you don't, then don't worry. Don't try and make a defense just around Nemesis runes. So those are ways to counter Lushens, in my opinion. Lushens that are proper endgame will have will runes, but most Conqueror Lushens do not have will runes, so no need to worry about using a CC. If very much stuns one of the Lushens, then you can often win the fight purely from that turn 1 stun. Next thing is Wombo. Wombo teams, I talked about in the Arena Offense video, will have most likely a Dispel on their team, and the solution to kill Wombo is to bring a speed unit like Bernard so to ensure you get turn 1. Wombo teams rely on will runes and shield runes and rely on the other team getting turn 1 and then they finish you off. So what you want to do is you want to bring a despair unit who can dispel those will runes and shield runes and stun them to ruin their combo, and then you want to bring a kill threat. So, I mean, there's not many farmable options for this, to be honest, because Soha and Aquila are going to get Lushened. You want to have something like Chiru or Praha are most ideal dispellers. I think Praha is the most ideal out of all of them. So you have Praha, stick her on defense straight away. And what this does is this will allow your Praha to strip buffs, then stun. And this can stun Galleon, it can stun one of the nukers. It slows down their comp, and also it can win you the fight sometimes. But you also need to make sure that you can actually then kill someone after that. If, like, bringing a Zeros in, for example, can be interesting, but I don't think it's a reliable way to win your winning defense. But if you have a unit that, like Theomars or Perna, who can one-shot someone on a defense break or one-shot someone without a defense break if they're squishy enough, then that can be super useful for killing enemies who are trying to kill you with the Wombo team. That's the really only way to protect yourself, is to bring will runes, shield runes, and despair, dispel. And what this will do is force them to bring a dispel themselves, and then you're playing the speed game. And if you're faster, then you're going to beat them. And I'd probably bring Bernard in as well, just to ensure. So, like, if I was trying to beat a Wombo team, because my defense right now is not set up for Wombo teams, because I never seem to get hit by them. Not that I can tell, but if I was trying to get rid of Wombo, this is what I would do. I would do something like this. And what this does is it will Chiro strips buffs, because he goes before Veramos. He's 181, and Veramos is he's quite a bit slower actually. And then, obviously, Bernard goes first, Chiro strips buffs, Veramos stuns, Perna kills someone. And that's the job of that team. And that's the way to kill out Wombo. The only issue is I don't have the proper runes to be able to do something like that, so I don't. That's the way I would do it. Personally, Veramos is a great option because even if you have him on Nemesis and he procs Nemesis, you can remove Galleon buff, which is incredible for stopping the second Yuka from killing someone. Bombs. I talked about bombs before. Use will runes and shield runes, and you'll notice a similar trend in a arena defense. And you'll notice I say will runes and shield runes quite a lot. Shield runes are super powerful. People don't realize just how powerful they are. A lot of people overlook them, but for arena they are really useful because it enables you to survive turn 1 and bounce back. This can stop will runes alone. If you're getting decent, like say 15,000 just on shield runes, I mean, then you can stop as first Lucian, one Lucian from killing you. If you've got Nemesis runes, you're gonna be able to proc, and then stun or heal, and that can stop the first Lucian of a double Lucian team. Now, people sometimes wonder, why do we run will runes when a lot of teams in Arena use buff removal? And the reason why is to stop them having CC teams. So let's say someone runs Tyron, Bernard, and then like Megan, Lucian in AO, and they plan Tyron to go first. It stops them being able to freeze you, stops them being able to stun you with Veramos. It also stops Galleon from being able to defense break you on the first turn. Now it won't stop anything from them being able to dispel you. However, the accuracy to resistance ratio is kind of annoying, so you can abuse that and then still have those will runes, and that keeps units alive. Especially for teams that use Akimir, it relies quite a lot on defense breaks sometimes. So having that extra will rune just to force them to bring a dispel instead of a nuker, or like say an attack bar booster, then that can really sway the fight in your favor. So I highly recommend putting will runes on units when it's safe and viable to do so. Do not sacrifice stats, especially speed and HP and defense, just to get will runes on units. I only do it when I can. I mean, I've made exceptions. I've reduced stats on these two, but they don't. They do enough damage as it is anyway for what they do, and I'm not properly using them on AO anyway. Um, so that's my explanation of Will and Shield. Will is probably the most powerful PvP rune to set besides well in Guild Wars especially, but yeah, it's pretty much the most powerful one you can have. Just because it forces them to bring Dispel, and that's why it's so powerful. Okay, so like for teams that don't have Dispel, say they haven't got a Dispeller, because Dispel is pretty hard to get sometimes. You know, if you have Aquila, you don't have Sohar, and you don't have any of the Nat 5 Dispellers, then it's not always ideal, not always easy to get. So then you can stop them from defense breaking and all that kind of crazy stuff. So, let's talk about other things to avoid on arena defense. You want to avoid running your arena offense on your arena defense, and that's quite obvious for most people. But some people actually seem to run like their Tiana Galleon, Zayros, and then like another unit, say like Teor or something on defense. And the only issue with this is that you're going to get Lushened because you don't have. Sorry, I got interrupted again. So do not run your arena offense on your arena defense unless your arena offense is a super speedy team or a team which is going to get the first turn. Because arena is all about the first turn. If they get the first turn on you, then they're just going to bring buff removal to remove your will runes and your shield runes, even if you have them for AO, and then just going to nuke you down. So I highly recommend do not run your AO on AD. Next thing, Hwadam. Hwadam doesn't work on AD. Arena offense is all about AoE nuking. So Hwadam's HP goes down as well. Do not run Hwadam on arena defense. It does not work. You've seen it time and time again in people's videos and streams. Oh, there's a Hwadam. I'm going to hit this straight away because there's nothing Hwadam does for arena defense. Often, Hwadam actually, his passive moves to the squishiest monster on the team. So that, say, like, I think I saw it in Rifi's stream, so there was a Hwadam on my team, and then his Akumir went, it one-shotted Veramos with like less than like 35k HP, and then Hwadam's passive went into Veramos, you know, bringing Veramos near enough to full HP again, but then Akumir obviously hits twice, so it then one-shotted Hwadam and one-shotted Veramos. So don't run Hwadam on AD. It's pointless. Unless you're really hardcore trying to counter the 1 to 2 nukers and supports. When you're trying to get to higher into Conqueror, or trying to get into Conqueror, Hwadam is not going to help you. He's not going to deter people from attacking you at all. If I see Hwadam on AD and he's not paired with, unless you've got other strong units, then Hwadam can be useful. But if you've got squishy units on your team and you're running Hwadam, it's pointless. It's pointless to run Hwadam on running defense, to be honest. Next thing's Arnold. Arnold we barely ever see, but I can understand people see it in lower ranks. But Arnold is so pointless. He's not a bruiser. Heal block from Lucian will stop his third skill from healing himself, and also his base that's not great enough in the game anymore to really do anything on arena defense. He's really outdated. Yes, you can run him on Despair. Yes, he can be used for just to deter really early game Lucians, but late game like not late game, but like Conqueror level Lucians, like hitting 8,000 per card or say 6,500 per card. They're not going to worry about Arnold, especially if you've got no other units to help Arnold in the fight. He's usually useless. Most players are going to struggle. This is Conqueror or below, guys. Okay, so most players are going to struggle to get Arnold above 35k HP. So he's not even going to be able to one-shot units with his third skill. So he's honestly pointless to run on arena defense. Next thing is running one nuker, and I see this so often. They run one nuker. They run, for example, Theomars. They just run on Theomars. And yes, this can work if your Chloe is super fast and you've got Jasoo and you've got it all speed tuned. But the problem is that if other teams are trying to beat you and your one nuker isn't on violent and doesn't violent proc loads of times, you can't rely on the RNG factor of Theomar's violent procking and killing 2 units, which you might not even be able to do through shield rings, which people might have on AO. So you can't rely on one nuker to kill threats. I think Theomar's is the only situation where you can use one nuker, but the rune requirements are ridiculously high, and he has to violent proc and kill 2 units for him to be able to use this properly in AD, which you can't rely on. So I highly recommend don't do it. Try and get 2 nukers, at least bring something fallible like Darian who can defense break before Theomar's, just to make the fight more viable for Theomar's. You're going to run Theomar's by himself. But having 2 nukers, especially 2 different element nukers, if you've got like an LD Nat 5, a single DPS nuker, then obviously use that. But because obviously he doesn't have any glancing. But Theomar's, yeah, he's great, but you want to try and actually pushing into Conqueror. You can use Theomar's. I just think having Theomar's by himself doesn't really provide a solid win condition most of the time. It can be annoying to fight against, but he's not going to give you as many wins as you think he's actually going to give you. Okay. I'm not saying don't run Theomar's, but I'm saying run Theomar's, but run someone else to help Theomar's kill someone, because unless your Theomar's is hitting really, really hard, like 30k on a defense break, you're probably not going to kill them most of the time, unless they're running like a squishy offense. Next thing is, don't think like Guardian. I can't stress this enough. I thought about this for ages. I thought like, I'm going to try and push into Guardian. Guardian players have buff removal on their defense. Guardian players have this. Guardian players have that. They're able to do that because of the runes they have. They're able to run double nemesis will on the rune sets because of the amount of speed substats they have. They're able to do that because of the amount of HP. Wow, that's the 3rd time I got interrupted. It's always when you're making a video, people want to call you on your phone. So we're going to talk about Guardian. Thinking that Guardian player, don't do it. If you don't have you need to understand this, and please don't get upset by this. If you're in Fighter 3, Fighter 2, and trying to get into Conqueror, you do not have the runes to run Tank Miller. You do not have the runes to run a Rune with 50k HP, 55k HP. You don't have the runes to be able to do it unless you've paid to win and you've magically bought loads of rune packs. There's no way you have the runes to be able to do it, so don't do it. And if you have those runes, then you should be higher than Fighter 3 and you shouldn't be watching this video anyway. Just don't think like a Guardian player. You've got to look at your monster box and decide, okay, so what do I want my team to do on arena defense? What do I want to counter? Because you cannot counter every single offense. There's just no way. Even in the current Tank Miller and arena meta, bomb teams are thriving against because of they don't trigger Nemesis rings, they don't crit either, so they don't trigger Arena shield. So they are thriving against arena teams. So that's why you see a lot of arenas running will runes sometimes as well. They run them with Eligil. You guys you need to understand that it doesn't always work. Like they're able to run those kinds of defenses with those units, not because they have Nat 5, not because they have Praha and all these other units that are amazing on arena defense. It's because they have the runes too. You'll see a lot of players like in Conqueror with Nat 5s, like they'll run like a Vanessa, Praha, Camilla, Kumar. Something I've seen that before, and you think, okay, why isn't this guy in Guardian? And it's just because he doesn't have the runes to be able to do it, and his defense is so squishy that teams with Wombos and other late game players are able to push him down and back into C2 and C3. He's not able to get higher than Conqueror because he doesn't have the runes to be able to do it. So that's why I always recommend, if you're thinking, oh, okay, I've got 5k crystals and maybe I should buy a premium pack, don't. That's 250 runs of giants or dragons, which is almost always a guaranteed legendary rune, which can be game changing in itself, especially if it's crit damage. Slot 4 violent with crit rate, HP, speed, and we'd say like a resistance or attack or defense or something like that, or HP. But you really need to get rune farming, get rift farming. That's the best way to progress in arena above all else, and I think most players will agree with that. I think Like my Perna's helped me get high up in arena just because it's more scary. My Verda's helped me in arena offense a little bit. Sierra's definitely helped me, and other units like Brilliant have sort of helped. Orion's helped in a way, but runes is the crucial thing. You can get pretty far in arena just with your um farmable runes and farmable units. That's the other thing I wanted to say. So notable units that are actually farmable that you can use in arena. You can use Sigmarus. He's sort of okay. He's got a decent AoE nuke. I've seen it do some good damage, but because it only hits once and it's based off max HP, it's not always that great. But he's still a useful nuker. You can use his second skill as well for nuke him. I actually don't have him any. I don't have any skill ups for him at all. Other units that are farmable. Beretta has a speed lead, has AoE CC, but it's not reliable because you have to run him under spare. But it's just something to consider in arena. If you're lacking a speed leader, then Beretta is not always too bad because you actually, if Beretta's fast enough, you can use this to reset Bernard's attack bar on offense if they don't have will runes. It's actually not even that bad. If you're thinking in arena meta, obviously you don't build Beretta for arena, you build Beretta for TOA. But if you happen to have a second one, or you don't have any, you don't need to skill up Beretta anymore. You don't need to skill up the first one because what's the point? It's only damage. But like if you happen to be able to do that, then you can use this and make Beretta really fast, and then like use it like a Leo, so you reset someone's attack bar off the first turn. It can be sort of useful. I don't build Beretta for that, and don't recommend you building Beretta for that. But if you feel like it, then try and break the meta and do something. Seek, pretty useful. Increases the attack power of all units, increases the crit rate, reducing the crit rate that you need to get to 100%, or like you can run like 50% crit rate and get away with it with using Seek. So it's not too bad. You can also run Bernard, obviously, what can we say? He is the best attack buffer in the game, just because he has the highest speed out of all the attack bar buffers. So, and also he brings speed buff as well, and some defense break. Obviously some other units do something else that are pretty cool, like Frigate is pretty cool because he decreases the cooltime of allies, which isn't pretty nice. Well, not everyone has him, and he's also a light and dark at 4, so we can't guarantee that everyone has him. Who else can we use? Bella, obviously, used all the time in arena, especially when trying to break into Conqueror. You put Bella on Nemesis if you're able to. Otherwise, put Bella on Violent or Swift, and just use Bella as a healer. That's all you need to use Bella for. Healer and defense break, and C's for Chloe buffs. Bella's probably my most used unit out of all of them. I use Bella. I use Bella in TOA, Dragons, Giants. Like to this day, Bella is still in Dragons and Giants in both my teams, and Arena as well. It's kind of insane how useful Bella is, and some nearly decent base stats too. Arya, I don't recommend for Arena. Even though her leader skill says Arena, she just is not for Arena. Varamos, obviously, he's so overpowered just because the stun is the most powerful thing he does, because every 3 turns he stuns, and also cleanses defense breaks, cleanses HP disturb recovery and things like that. Who else can you use? You can potentially use monsters like, you can potentially use him, but I don't recommend it. It's most likely, units like Hodam are going to have wool runes, so Hodam's not even that big of a threat on Arena anyway. But you can also use Akemir, who is really, really strong nuker. People really underrated him until endgame players used Akemir, and just showed how powerful he was for a farmable unit that he is. Obviously, it's all RNG based. I've got 2 Tessarions, and I've kind of given up hope from them trying to get a unit. But Theomar is also very, very useful because he doesn't glance. He's one of the few units in the game he's actually the only unit who's not light and dark who doesn't glance, who doesn't have an attribute disadvantage. So he's obviously pretty overpowered. Everyone agrees that he's overpowered, but I don't think we're going to get him nerfed for quite a while. Next thing, who else can we use? I mean, after that, it's kind of up to the debate who you can use in PvP. But that's pretty much it. That just talks about AD. This is trying to break into Conqueror. This isn't. I nowhere near say that I'm a Guardian level player. I'm only like a Conqueror 2 level player at best. Usually Conqueror 1. I'm starting to break into Conqueror 2. Now I'm taking it a bit more seriously. I was taking it really seriously before, but now I'm like properly trying to speed tune teams and everything like that. Working on the runes. Runes are just everything, guys. Like, for example, you look at my monsters and you go, okay, so if I was trying to build this really super endgame, I'd go Chiwu, I'd go I'd go Chiwu, Orion, Perna, and then probably Bella or Veramos, right? Maybe, or like Sierra, Chiwu, Orion. No, Sierra, Orion, Perna. Pretty much like the defense I have now, probably. But like I'd swap out like Orion for I'd swap out Bernard for like Veramos or Bella or Nemesis runes or Jasoon if I had Jasoon and Nemesis runes. And I've just seen go before those two, but I don't have Jasoon, so I have to run like Bella or Veramos on Nemesis. And I'm getting arena defense victories somehow. And that's because I've speed tuned the units so that Perna and Sierra go like at the same time. They're not actually completely speed tuned, so the enemy team does actually have a chance to go in between my Bernard and Orion. Not between Bernard and Orion, but between Orion, because he goes second, and they can actually go before my Sierra and Perna. Sierra's on will runes, so they can't stun her. They have to actually kill her. And then Chiwu, not Chiwu, but Perna is not on the will runes, but obviously if they don't have a reset like Zeros, then what can they do? So if they can't kill both of those units in the first turn, someone's going to die and it makes the fight hard. I don't claim to be the expert on AD, but you've got to create a win condition for yourself, guys. You have to make sure that your arena can actually win. And that just makes the fights more annoying. But that can kind of conclude the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope to bring you more enjoyable content. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you didn't, leave a like. And if you did, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you didn't, dislike so I can understand, and also comment as well. That helps me a lot. Your feedback is always appreciated. And see you next video. Peace out.